Hey guys, this is Christopher George with Run It Once, and today I'm going to be starting a brand new series, Nosebleed Mixed. Not too long ago, I had an opportunity to play in some of the biggest games online, and I thought it would make for an interesting series to go over those hands that I played. Ravenswood opens in early position, and Mustafa bet 3-bets, folds to us in the big blind. We have a very good hand for multi-way action. We have the nut suited ace and the ace deuce 5, which plays really well multi-way. When it hits the lower boards, it's going to really hit them. So calling is, I think, our only option here. I don't think it's strong enough to put into a 4-betting range. I'd rather have the 7 be a club or something like another wheel card before I did that. Or have that 7 be something like a king or a queen, as those hands play a bit stronger in 3-way pots. Really good flop for us. We flopped top 2 pair and a live 2 draw. So if any low card comes on the turn, we then pick up the live 2. Fold to Mustafa bet here, and I think the best play is going to be raising. I think a lot of the times he's going to have a hand similar to what we have, but potentially with a Broadway card in it. So something like ace, king, deuce, ace, queen, 3, those kinds of hands. And we're really in good shape against those. The only hand that we're not really happy to see is aces here. Us having an ace makes it a little less likely that he has aces. When Ravenswood cold calls here, I'm going to generally be putting him on a made low or some kind of middling wrap, something like 2, 3, 4, 6, which already has a low. So not really happy that he's cold calling here. And when Mustafa bet 3-bets, I can narrow his range down quite a bit too, to having some aces and made lows with a really strong high. So even though we have a very strong hand on this flop, it seems like we could easily be getting scooped here. But we are getting an insane price here, 16.5 to 1, as you can see here. And I think it's worth calling and seeing the turn. At this point, I don't think I'm necessarily always getting scooped. I don't think I can happily put Ravenswood and Mustafa bet on 2 hands that have me scooped both ways. If Mustafa bet does have aces, we could be drawing to a better low than he could have. So if he has something like ace, ace 4 and a low card comes off, then we could take the low if he takes the high. The only issue is that Ravenswood is still in the hand, and I don't think we are able to isolate him. If he does have the nut low, he's never folding. And if he has the second nut low, I'm still not sure if he's folding. So it's a really rough situation for us. We are getting a very good price again, 10 to 1. I think I'm just going to have to call and hope that the river blanks off, no diamonds, no straight cards. So anything like a 4, a 6, an 8, those are all really bad cards for us. The 6 does give us, no, it doesn't give us a straight either. Yeah, so there's a lot of bad cards for us on the river. And at this point, Mustafa bet's almost all in. So that could have been one reason for me to maybe just try and isolate Ravenswood to get it all in with Mustafa bet. But as I said earlier, I don't think Ravenswood's ever folding any of his range that we're beating. And then maybe he'll still call with something like ace 5 with a low. He does raise behind us, and now I'm just really not happy about the situation. He's going to have a lot of lows with diamond draws. He's going to have a lot of different kind of combos, like straight with a weaker low. Because he did open an early position, I have to think that it's more likely he has something like ace deuce 4 or ace deuce 3. But it is possible that he has a hand like deuce 3, 4, 5 with diamonds or something like that. And on the river, it goes back call. I think the river bricked off enough that I'm happy just calling and hoping that he has something like ace 5, deuce 4, ace 5, 6, 4 types of hands that we still have the high And he does have king 4 deuce, so we do take the high from him. And I'm not entirely sure why he raised turn. I don't think there's a lot of value in him doing that. I think I'm going to have a very strong hand most of the time when I raise Mustafa bet on the flop. I'm going to have the deuce 3 with other draws. So I think his raise on the turn is actually a bit light. I don't like it. For some reason, he must have picked up that I didn't have deuce 3, but if I did have something like ace deuce 3, he's getting scooped. So yeah, I don't like his raise there on the turn. And Mustafa bet did have the aces, and he did have a hand like ace 4, so we could have potentially knocked Ravenswood out on the turn if he was going to fold that weaker low there. But the second nut low is pretty strong, and I don't really pin him for someone who likes to fold a lot, which is why I chose to just call. Let's go to the next hand. Next hand, we're in the small blind, and Mangano opens, bottommost calls, and we have a decision in the small blind. Looking back at this, I think it's a fold in the small blind. The hand does not do well multi-way. The pair of fives is really bad. And this is a very aggressive game. Oftentimes there was a bet and a raise on the flop. So these types of hands aren't going to have a lot of equity. They're not going to hit boards really well. Their equity on a lot of different board textures is going to be very marginal. It's not very polarized, so when you hit the board, you don't really smash it. Even when you hit a 5, there's going to be times where there's a low draw on top of it. So I really don't like this hand multi-way, and I think I can fold. I can see why I called at the time. Bottommost was playing a lot of hands, and I wanted to play pots with him. Mustafa bet was almost all in, so I wasn't too afraid of him on my left. But I think overall this is going to just be a fold. Comes back to us, we flop top 2 pair. I don't think this is a raising spot. Our hand is very delicate in the sense that almost any turn is bad. We're really only looking for a select number of turns, and even then we end up getting half the pot a lot of the time. So if something like a 4 comes off on the turn, we're not happy about it, but it is going to be better for our hand in that we still have the high hand very frequently. But if a king, queen, 10, 9, there's just a lot of different cards that can come that make a straight. And then those cards that do come that make the low, obviously we only get half the pot now. So I don't want to be raising for value here. I'm just essentially calling and praying that my top 2 pair are going to hold up by the river. I can turn some spade draws. I can hit a jack or an ace and then often scoop the pot. So that is a little bit of a small bonus with this hand. A 4 does come off on the turn, and I think my only decision was to call. However, bottommost does raise it, making my life a lot more difficult. I'm not entirely sure how I feel about cold calling this here. I think oftentimes we are calling for half the pot. And on top of that, almost every river is going to be bad for us. At this point, there's almost no good river other than an ace or a jack. Any of the low cards bring a straight, and any of the high cards bring a straight. And then any of the hearts obviously bring the flush. So really, really bad spot for us, even though we do have top 2 pair right now. I can't really imagine to begin constructing bottommost's range here because he's going to have a lot of value, and then he's going to have a lot of free rolls, and then he's going to have a lot of semi-bluffs because he's going to want to isolate me out of the pot with something more marginal, maybe something like jack 8, deuce 6, that he just wants to get heads up. Anything that has some kind of deuce 3 with hearts, he might be raising here. Anything with deuce 5 and hearts, it's a really rough situation for me to figure out what he's going to have here. So I'm more likely to use the strength of my hand in isolation than to try and figure out exactly what bottommost is raising with here, because it's just going to be such a wide range. The biggest issue I find is that even though he has such a wide range, this hand is still not in good shape because of all of the bad rivers. I think I can just fold this and be kind of happy about it. Yeah, I think I can fold here. And then I get capped in, which is just really unfortunate. a lot of the time, Mangano's going to have ace-ace. He's going to have free roll here. He's going to have, a lot of equity. And now that Bottomos is raising here, it just seems like it's more of a value raise or a free roll raise. It's not going to be those marginal hands, because I think it's safe to assume that I'm never folding and he's not trying to isolate me anymore. He's just trying to get value. So I do fold, which actually I think is a good fold there. I don't think I'm ever getting half of the pot anymore. And again, a really bad card comes on the river. A lot of straights just got there. And I just really couldn't think of a good river other than an ace or a jack. So, and it looks like he had ace jack 8 7, which is a little surprising to be 3-betting on the turn. It's, I think, a mistake. There isn't really much value to doing that. His hand is very vulnerable. He had a hand very similar to mine. Yeah, I don't like his raise there. And I do like Bottomos' raise. He was free rolling to a really strong hand. So I think his was fine. I dislike his raise. Yeah, not too much else to say about that one. And Mustafa Bet over here just, I think, ends up getting scooped.